Today we're flying with one of Asia's most prestigious airlines and staying at one of Hong Kong's most exclusive hotels. But is Cathay Pacific's current business class product still worth it, especially with a brand new suite being rolled out across its fleet? Join me on this flight from Frankfurt to Hong Kong aboard Cathay Pacific's Boeing 777-300ER and get a look at the 5-star Murray Hotel, part of the GHA Discovery network in the heart of Hong Kong. This is actually not my first time flying with Cathay Pacific on this route. In fact, I've flown it twice before, both times in economy. And even back then, when Cathay was widely considered the gold standard for long-haul economy, I found the experience impressively good. So this time I was quite excited to see what their business class has to offer, especially as part of a longer trip through Asia that will feature a full series of Cathay Pacific business class flights. But let's start at the beginning at Frankfurt International Airport. Cathay Pacific departs from Terminal 2 and business class passengers are directed to the priority lounge near gates E6 to E9. The location is convenient, especially today with boarding from E6, but the lounge itself is basic at best. It's part of the Priority Pass network and shared with more than a dozen airlines, which shows. It's often crowded, the food and drink options are modest, and while it does the job if you just want a seat and a drink, that's really the extent of the experience. What makes the setup even less appealing is gate E6 itself. Unlike many gates in Frankfurt, this one has its own dedicated security checkpoint right before boarding. That means you need to leave early enough to deal with the security line that can get quite busy before boarding. This is probably my least favorite setup at Frankfurt, so manage your expectations for the on-ground experience. Once past the gate, boarding is direct via the jet bridge. Stepping into the cabin, the first thing that strikes me is how compact and enclosed it feels, largely due to Cathay's decision to include overhead bins above the middle seats. While some airlines go for a more open feel by only using bins above the window seats, Cathay's setup gives the cabin a somewhat cozy atmosphere. I personally prefer this look. It makes the space feel a bit more private, even if technically more crowded. It's all held together in dark, almost moody tones with subtle deep red accents, very much in line with the Hong Kong aesthetic. It's less of a polished luxury look, but has a more grounded elegance. The seats themselves are clearly not the newest. Panels feel a bit loose in places and some surfaces show their age, but overall the seat itself is clean and still solid. Despite its age, the seat offers a lot of personal space and storage. For this flight, my flight companion and I are seated in the middle section of the 1-to-1 reverse herringbone layout. While all window seats are turned towards the window and offer identical privacy, the middle seats are angled slightly toward each other, separated by a wall and the headphone compartments, meaning these aren't honeymoon seats like you'll find on some other layouts. That makes this a very nice cabin for solo travelers, but maybe less ideal if you're traveling as a couple or family hoping to lean in for a chat or share a meal. In terms of privacy and personal space though, it's quite good. Waiting at the seat is the Bamford branded Amenity kit. In terms of the packaging, this might be one of my favorites. It comes in a compact leather optic design with a nice magnetic closing mechanism. I usually don't mind how luxurious an Amenity kit is, but I prefer something that I can use in my day-to-day life. And this little bag is definitely a nice organizer for a handbag or backpack. Inside it comes with the usual suspects: toothbrush, toothpaste, eye mask, earplugs and lip balm, but also some nice extras: mouthwash, pillow mist and a cooling body gel, which would have come in handy later if I had remembered it was in there. As for the bathrooms in business class, there are 2 at the front of the cabin and they're very different. The left one is surprisingly spacious and comfortable, though not exactly pristine. The right one, in contrast, is noticeably smaller and more cramped. Neither was particularly well maintained throughout the flight, but if you have the option, aim for the one on the left. With an early pushback, we take off just after noon. The crew begins service with a hot towel, a small but appreciated detail that not every airline has brought back post-pandemic. Cathay's menu reflects its roots with a strong emphasis on seafood-forward Hong Kong cuisine alongside some Western options. What stands out immediately is the inclusion of a vegetarian main dish in the regular menu, in this case a cauliflower and chickpea stew with mint raita, which is also available on the dine-on-demand list throughout the flight. It's rare to see a vegetarian option featured so prominently on this route, and it sets a good tone for the meal service overall. The first course arrives at around 1:10 p.m. The appetizer is great, especially paired with a Cathay Delight, Cathay signature mocktail made with coconut milk and kiwi juice. The prawns are fine, but nothing that really stands out. The main course though absolutely does. The cauliflower and chickpea stew is to date my favorite in-flight meal. It's rich and well balanced with flavors that go far beyond the usual airline fare. yeah, the cauliflower has a nicely browned, almost pan-fried texture, and the stew that feels more like a curry is hearty without being too heavy. And the mint raita adds just enough brightness. If I hadn't been so full, I would have happily gone for a second serving from the all-day menu. The meal service for lunch wraps up with ice cream. With lunch done and the flight clocking in at exactly 12 hours, there's more than enough time to explore the onboard connectivity. Fortunately, all Cathay flights in the series, both long-haul and regional, now include free Wi-Fi for business class passengers. Connecting is straightforward, especially if you know the usual workaround that you can find in my YouTube shorts. Once online, the network is decently stable for most of the flight and fast enough for emails, browsing, and even a bit of streaming. That brings us to the in-flight entertainment, which is something Cathay generally does quite well. The content selection is broad with a good mix of international films, series, documentaries, and regional programming. One helpful feature is the ability to mark items as favorites while browsing, which makes it easier to queue up content without having to scroll through the full catalog again later. That said, the hardware doesn't quite match the quality of the content. The screens in the cabin are just fine at best, resolution is middling, colors are slightly washed out, and responsiveness isn't great. They do the job, but feel noticeably behind the curve. Without being able to confirm it technically, the screens in this flight's economy cabins might actually feel sharper, at least judging from memory. One thing that does noticeably elevate the experience, especially on an older seat, is bringing the right gadgets. While some airlines are slowly introducing wireless headphone pairing in their newest cabins, the majority, including this 777, still rely on the classic double-pin headphone jack. And the provided headphones are not always great either. If you want to use your own wireless in-ear headphones, a small Bluetooth transmitter is an easy fix. You simply plug it into the headphone port and pair it with your own Bluetooth headphones. It's inexpensive, it weighs almost nothing, and for me it makes a surprisingly big difference in comfort. Especially if you're usually bringing your over-ear noise-cancelling headphones just for the flight, you can save a lot of space by bringing a transmitter and your AirPods instead, something I will do from now on. Another staple of my in-flight gadgets is my Lansand travel adapter. Cathay's USB-A ports, like those on many older aircrafts, are basically a trap. They charge incredibly slowly, tend to overheat your device, and really only serve as battery life preservation tool at best. In contrast, the universal power outlet at the seat is significantly more reliable. Paired with my Lansand adapter, which includes 3 USB-A ports, 1 USB-C, and a universal socket, I'm able to charge my phone, tablet, and laptop without issue. It's compact, reliable, and has traveled with me for years. You find a link for both gadgets in the video description. After a movie and a bit of browsing, it's time to take a rest. The seat converts into a fully lie-flat bed and comes with a mattress pad, which instantly makes a difference. The seat is quite roomy when reclined, and compared to other business class designs, it offers a noticeable sense of space. You don't feel boxed in, and with the armrest raised, there's a decent amount of privacy for a non-suite layout. The bedding is also well above average. The blanket is thick and feels high in quality, and the pillow is perfectly fine as well. It's the kind of setup that could easily make for a comfortable night's sleep if only the cabin temperature allowed it. For reasons I don't know, the cabin gets uncomfortably warm as the flight progresses, and lying under the thick duvet becomes a bit of a challenge. My saving grace on this trip is a small portable travel fan that I packed despite it being winter. If you're someone who runs warm or just likes to have control over your microclimate, I genuinely recommend bringing one. There's a link in the description below. Outside of the temperature, the rest of the flight runs smoothly. Sometime in the second half of the flight, my flight companion and I take a walk to the galley and help ourselves with the available snacks. The fresh caramel popcorn definitely stands out. It's very sweet, but if you got a bit of a sugar craving mid-flight, it's a great choice. After the snacks and a few more hours of light sleep, the breakfast service begins serving all at once on a single tray. The meal is fine and it does the job, but it isn't particularly memorable. Not too much later, we approach Hong Kong International Airport on a rainy winter morning. Touchdown is at 7 AM local time with a slight 20-minute delay. Disembarkation is smooth and we make our way toward immigration. Immigration takes a moment but gives us time to buy Airport Express tickets on our phones while waiting in line. Our luggage arrives not too long after we reach the luggage belt, and just like that, we are through and out into the city. That leads us to a preliminary verdict. There's no question that this cabin is showing its age. The seat works, it's roomy, it lies flat, and it has decent storage, but the entire product feels like it belongs to a different era of premium travel. The screen is outdated and wear is visible in a few places. With Cathay slowly rolling out its new Aria Suite, this older generation clearly isn't the star of the show anymore. But that doesn't mean it's a bad experience. The seat is still comfortable and the service is polished. Even the old product can comfortably compete on the route between Europe and Hong Kong. Cathay is clearly in a transitional phase, balancing the deployment of a new hard product while maintaining service levels across its fleet. This flight showed both sides of that balance, a cabin that feels past its prime paired with a crew and soft product that still keeps the overall experience competitive. As for the crew, the service was warm and efficient, perhaps a little more reserved than what you might expect from some other Asian carriers, but certainly more attentive and welcoming than what you typically find on many European airlines. I think part of that is that Cathay feels like it has an identity. It is metropolitan with a distinguishable Hong Kongese charm that makes it stand out in its own way. So would I fly Cathay Pacific Business Class again, even in this older cabin? Absolutely. As long as expectations are set appropriately, the experience still holds up well. And with the Aria Suite rollout on the horizon, the future of Cathay's premium product looks promising and something to be excited for. Before we get to the Murray Hotel, we are already connected to the local phone network thanks to mobile data from our trusted eSIM from Airalo. Especially on a multi-country trip like this one through Asia, Airalo's Airline Plan proves incredibly convenient. We purchase and install the eSIM back in Germany and it connects automatically upon landing. If you are planning a similar itinerary across Asia, the Asialink Plan gives you coverage across multiple countries for a fraction of what most roaming packages would cost, and setup just takes a few minutes. You'll find the link along with the discount in the video description below that I will keep updated in the future so that you get the best deal whenever you watch this video. With data sorted, we take the Airport Express into the city. At Hong Kong Station, we scan the pre-purchased train ticket right up to the ground level and step out right next to the IFC Mall, a central spot with plenty of options for taxis and hotel shuttles. The Murray Hotel provides a shuttle service from Hong Kong Station, which we catch just in time. The Murray is a building that's hard to miss. Originally built in the late 1960s as a government building, it's a striking example of modernist architecture and a rare piece of design history in a city better known for its glass towers. We've noticed it on previous visits to Hong Kong, so staying here this time feels like checking a box on the architectural curiosity list. Today it has been rebuilt as a luxury hotel and is part of the Global Hotel Alliance, better known as GHA. If you hold an American Express credit card, there's a good chance you already have status with GHA Discovery, unlocking perks like free room upgrades, early check-in and late checkout. We don't have status with GHA on this trip, but the front desk is still kind enough to grant us a very early check-in free of charge. We are staying at the N3 Grand Deluxe room, which comes with a spacious double bed, a bathtub and a city view, but see for yourself. We don't explore too many of the Murray's other facilities, but we do make the most of the breakfast, which arguably is one of the strong points of the overall stay. Especially if you're in Hong Kong for just a few days and won't have time to explore all the local food spots, it's nice to know that breakfast here includes some well-executed local dishes alongside the usual international spread. The rooftop bar, skyline views and central location add to the appeal, and despite its 5-star rating, the Murray is actually one of the more affordable luxury hotels in Hong Kong, especially when compared to some of its waterfront competitors. If it fits your budget, it's absolutely worth considering for the architecture and location and the quiet sense of calm it offers in one of Asia's busiest cities. After a few days in Hong Kong and a few more excellent meals, it's time to head back to the airport and continue this trip, this time heading to Japan. In the next video, we will take a closer look at Cathay's regional business class product as we fly from Hong Kong to Osaka. So if you're curious how Cathay performs on shorter routes or just want to follow along with the rest of this journey, make sure to like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.